I'm live, I think. Yes, I am. There I am. I'm live. Right. I'm going to continue playing Rome 2. It was a very exciting time last week because the Romans sort of hung around in Sicily doing nothing. Then they tried to sail to Corsica and immediately got sunk by the Carthaginians. So I guess it's all on this week. Maybe. I thought I'd dawdle and try and recoup my forces a little bit, and then it lost a quarter of them. So I'm going to have to start by rebuilding them. It has been a long week of childcare. I swear, well, I guess it's. I was about to say my child has a lot of homework, but I guess it's not homework. It's just regular schoolwork, but it turns out quite a lot. Oh, we ended up having to do yesterday's English work today, and yesterday's English work took over an hour today. And also they decided to fill a washing bowl. They just filled it with mud and then made the mud wet and then just got it all over themselves. The loading screens in this game are very long. I don't know whether maybe I ought to have loaded this up beforehand before starting the thing up. I don't know. It feels right. It feels appropriate to start the stream at the main menu. That feels like the correct place to start streaming. Perversely, I feel like there's a sense of like honesty to it, which doesn't really make any sense. Oh, the music stops when I tab out to Twitch. I have a game design topic for today, but it's hard to summarise with a title. Oh, it's hard to summarise. Like, it's easy to summarise with a title if you know what I'm referring to, but if you don't know what I'm referring to, it's kind of meaningless. And the topic is broadly different kinds of role-playing, but that actually has a much wider application to game design than you would have thought. Right, how are we doing? Okay, so we captured. So the premise of the game is that we're playing with a mod. So this is Rome 2 Total War. We're playing with a mod called Dividet Impera, which makes things more historically realistic. Not completely authentic by any means, but more historically realistic. And also using a sort of set of role-playing rules for how to build armies to try to maintain a sense of historical realism, but without without claiming to be completely authentic by any means. A semi-realistic way of building armies, and also playing on easy. So it's not particularly challenging, except in as much as my incredibly poor role-playing derived choices cause me to struggle more than I otherwise would do on easy. So what happened last week was... Oh yeah, sorry, and then the other thing is following the historical objectives. So there's a set of objectives in here, Chapter 1, Chapter 2, and so on, which walk through Rome's historical wars, and so I'm doing them specifically in that order. So early on we finished the Etruscan Empiric Wars by conquering all of southern Italy, central and southern Italy. Then we've fought the first Punic War against Carthage by capturing the western part of Sicily, because the eastern part... the western part of Sicily, because the eastern part is still controlled by Syracuse, who I think at this point in history are a Roman ally, so we haven't attacked them, even though, strategically speaking, it's really silly to not attack them. That would be a really good province to take right now. We're ignoring them because that's not what Rome did historically. So we are now moving on to the Mercenary War in 240 to 238 BC, which we should probably get on with, to be honest, because it doesn't matter if we miss the time limits. That's not actually important. But there are little historical pop-ups that say what was happening in that time period, and it's quite interesting to see them. If we're doing roughly the same sort of thing as what's going on historically, they make a bit more sense. And actually it's probably because one turn, I've got it set to one turn per year, so actually it's probably going to take longer than 5 years to conquer these two provinces, especially as I've just lost one of my largest armies, so I should probably get on with it. And after that, we're going over here, for some reason, because we hate that guy. Right, so what happened? Then what happened was we having conquered Sicily. Have we made? No, we haven't made peace with Carthage. There's a whole load of Carthaginian ally armies sitting here that I was expecting to come and attack Sicily, but they never did. So I've got the 3rd Legion there, and the 4th Legion I think are running north to help. Yep. And then the 1st Legion decided that they were going to go across the sea, because that would be faster to get back to Rome. And then the Carthaginians came out of nowhere and destroyed them. So I'm having to rebuild the 1st Legion here. That's them. So I think I left it in place where I just need to end the turn. I think at the moment no one is watching, which I always find a slightly confusing. I feel like I'm talking to a room of nothing. I find it difficult to maintain a normal level of banter when there isn't anyone to say, "Oh, hi! There is someone there. Hello." Is that a Vernick? No, Amascot. Wait. I'm confused. Vernick. Oh, Syracuse, right. Syracuse want a trade agreement. I think that's probably... I mean, it's probably not worth the money. You probably won't make back as much money as I'm spending, but maybe being allies with them... No, we are going to come for them eventually. I think it's probably... We don't want to do that. Well, the problem... So I can't tell the difference between anyone with whose name begins with A. That is, well, I think, hello Abby, I think that I am streaming my game at the moment, so I'm talking to people. But yes, that isn't very nice, is it? I mean, you could just take it off and drink straight from the cup, like that. These are quite old now, these cups. I think that's just plastic. I think that's just where you've chewed the plastic. It goes white where you chew it. I don't think it's bitter. Well, you could try cleaning it with a wipe. But you could also just take it off. Could you go back to bed though? Because it's bedtime, isn't it? Hi, Zane. Oh, this turn is still going on. That was Abby, who... Abby, could you go back to bed, please? Come on. And close the door behind you. Abby got up to tell me that her drink tastes bitter. And she thinks it's because of the plastic cup. I'm hoping Theo comes on tonight because the thing I was going to talk about I think is quite relevant to him. Oh, hi, Di. Don't know, I'm not sure that's how game streaming is supposed to work, where you have a topic that has nothing to do with the game that you're playing. But it seems fun to me. Right, minus 25% cavalry recruitment. Plus 2%. Oh yeah, I forgot. Our agent is called Hostilia, which is the best name of all time. That is how I named Hostilia. So I was looking through lists of Roman names, looking for cool ones. I noticed that. I think there's a thing there. I don't know how to quite articulate it. I've been had some discussions recently with some people on a different Discord server, and I was reading a discussion on the Reddit fantasy writers, people talking about naming things. And I think there's not much crossover between... This is really hard to... this is hard to articulate without sounding offensive to everyone or anyone or everyone. But like, some people care about words that sound cool, and some people care about words that sound clever. And I think often they don't intersect very much. So like, people who like clever names don't necessarily care or notice that they don't, whether they do or don't sound cool. And people who like cool names don't necessarily notice whether they do or don't sound clever. If that makes sense. So like, Killmonger is a cool sounding name, but doesn't sound clever at all. It sounds really dumb. Yeah, well, thank you, because I made up the name of Vernick, so you're welcome. I think that's not... I think that's an original word. I don't believe that word existed. I mean, it's obviously just derived from Avernus, right? It means of Avernus, but I don't think that word exists outside of RuneScape, so I'm quite pleased with it. Even though it's obviously just derived. Right, I need to dawdle around building some units, and then I'll get back to yammering while the turn takes forever. Yeah, I mean, that's one of my aspirations. One of my aspirations as a writer is essentially to contribute something to language. That feels to me like something worth doing. What, Abby?
There was knocking at me for a cave.
Abby, could you go back to bed, because it's bedtime now? Is Zoe knocking on the door, on the wall?
Yes.
Okay, I will go and tell her to stop. I'll be back in 30 seconds. My wife's in the garden and the children keep getting out of bed. Oh, I see. I need to go link my stream in the art Discord, obviously. Mod Jack. So Jack is my granddad's name and also my middle name. So, like, Jack is, I think of Jack is objectively the coolest name, and it's not my name because my name is Tim, but it is my middle name. So I feel like I have some claim to its legitimacy. Right, what am I doing? Can't remember. I guess Legio 4 is coming north to try and help attack Corsica. I'm slightly worried about Sicily getting attacked. Used to be loads of like pop culture jokes about Tim, like Tiny Tim and Timotei, and there are some who call me Tim, and I don't think there really are any anymore. Yeah, that's it, Tim the Enchanter, right? But actually that's kind of a dated reference now. I don't think there are any up-to-date Tim memes. Who has the coolest JMod name and who has the cleverest? Oh, I don't know. I mean, the vast majority of them are just someone's name or someone's... personally, I'm not that... like... So Mod Erator is lovely. Like, he's a really nice guy. But I don't like that kind of pun joke. I don't really like it. Ah, you guys are talking about the same guy, yeah. But he's a lovely guy, but it's not really my kind of joke. I'm glad someone in the company has it. I guess in that sense, like, I like that someone has that name, but I don't especially like it. Also, I call him Erator to wind him up. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, names. Yeah. Names. So names can be cool, right? Names can be cool or not cool, and I don't think there's any way to determine that objectively. There's no way to objectively say that word is a cool word. But I think there is a judgment to be done there as a writer. Like, it is part of your job to try to, like, name things in a compelling way that, you know, phrases that you want to repeat. I think there are things... I don't know if there are any experts on this. I'm certainly not one, but I think there are ways to construct words or like stressed and unstressed syllables. I can never remember them all off the top of my head. But if you do like a stressed syllable followed by two unstressed syllables, and then a stressed syllable followed by two more unstressed syllables, whatever that's called, like long, like stress, not stress, not stress, stress, not stress, not stress. Like that has a flow to it, which sounds really good. And I think you can build words. It's so like I've said before, but I prefer the American pronunciation of the word. In UK English, we say diplodocus, which sounds goofy. And if you like goofy words, then that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. The American pronunciation, diplodocus, puts the emphasis quite differently. And even though it's still a fairly goofy word, it sounds a lot more serious. So and I think that that's a good illustration of how just a slight change in the stress of a word can change its tone quite a lot. Right, I need to finish building this army. What are they doing? They're building... oh, is this the group that couldn't build? I think they're almost done. Yeah, we're almost ready to go. Hi, Nedifiend. You've never heard Diplodocus? He's called Chap. He's a chap and a chaplain. It's the most British thing possible. Although I guess, yeah, because it's chaplain as in the Charlie Chaplin, not chaplain as in a church chaplain. Right, what happened in 242 BC? Roman consul blockades Sicilian cities. Why are they still fighting in Sicily in real history? Right. I don't think there's anything else to build at the moment. So my plan... Really, I don't know whether to send... So the way that naval balance works in this game is... So this is Bronze Age, so dedicated naval ships is a bit of a misnomer. There are naval ships, but the dedicated naval ships are essentially just transport ships with marines and rams and things. Like the way that you kill another ship is to sail up to it, board it, and kill all the people on board with your men. But nevertheless, there are dedicated naval vessels that have, they're stronger. So this is a fleet, and so these are permanent naval vessels. And the ship itself is stronger, and I think the marines on board are better at fighting on ships, but I'm not sure if that's actually true. So if I sail my guys into the sea, they'll be on transport ships, which aren't anywhere near as resilient. So it's possible that these Carthaginians will just come up and massacre me. So it might be safer to wait until the fleet here is finished, or this one, and come and help them. I'm not sure. I should end the turn though. What was I talking about? Clever. There's a distinction between clever names and... Oh, they're going. Where are they going? There's a distinction between clever names and cool names, and I think the ideal name is both, right? I think if you, particularly in genre fiction, you get these really goofy sounding names. Abby, why are you not in bed? You can get it yourself, but don't have too much. Get slowly grumpier and grumpier with her as she keeps getting up. She knows she's not supposed to get out of bed at all. The best fictional name I've heard. Oh man, you guys cannot pronounce aluminium. You know it's a mistake, right? You know it's an error. It's not supposed to be aluminum, but there was a mistake. And then the mistake caught on. That was so confusing. I first came across that watching Star Trek 4, and they run around trying to find transparent aluminum, and it's Star Trek, right? So I just assumed they were talking nonsense. No, it turns out it's just an incredibly widespread error. Fascinating. What's the coolest fantasy name? Best fictional name ever? I don't know. it's probably something fairly simple, right? Like, like something straightforward like Darth Vader is really good. It's a really simple, straightforward word. If you compare it, for example, with Darth Sidious, like, they follow a similar sort of pattern, and Darth Sidious is a pretty good name, but it doesn't have the same simple, like, what is it? Like, again, the emphasis on the syllables. It doesn't have the same sort of simple power to it. Oh yeah, I send stuff back if it has apostrophes. I'm like, it doesn't happen that much, but if someone sends me like fantasy words with apostrophes in them, I take them out and send them back again. I can't stand it. Oh yeah, Captain America is a good example of a word that fits that. As well, stressed, unstressed, unstressed, stressed, unstressed. That's a great. I don't know. Maybe I'm completely off on that, but I think certain patterns of stress and lack of stress make more effective names, or more effective is maybe the wrong word, because you don't necessarily want every name to sound cool and badass, right? That's not necessarily what you're going for, but I think you probably want it to sound memorable and exciting and interesting. Every single turn it tells me that my spies have been exposed. Governor's leveled up. Right, so the decision that we have, and honestly I think it's probably a good idea to save the game, is whether to sail these guys out into the sea and hope for the best. Yeah, let's do that. But let's save the game first, just in case we lose everything. I can't remember which of Corsica and Sardinia is which. And I don't think this game will tell me. No, this is Corsica et Sardinia, which is not helpful. So I'm just going to get it wrong constantly. Oh, they can't get into the sea, what? Is that just how it works? It just uses up all their move to get in, I think. What? Why can they not... Wow, this is a bad start. Glorious Roman. Can I get them to go this way instead? Yeah, there we go. That's not very good pathfinding, is it? One of these guys leveled up. Who was it? It was you. You are going to... I don't know what you're going to do. Bonuses to something. Less banditry. Is that good? Ah, research rate. That sounds good. Oh, I can't get that yet. Okay. There we go, that's fine. Whatever. What happened in 241 BC? Antiochus III was born. Aegis IV, king of Sparta, died. And Arcesilaus, the Greek philosopher, who had become the 6th head of the Greek Academy founded by Plato. Oh, what's that? We're going here. Carthaginian fleet sent to relieve the Roman blockade of the Sicilian cities of Villabam and Drepanum is totally defeated by a Roman fleet. The result is a decisive Roman victory which forces an end to the protracted First Punic War to Rome's distinct advantage. Carthaginians under Hamilcar Barca are forced to accept severe peace terms and agree to evacuate Sicily. As part of the treaty with Rome, Carthage agrees to abandon all its claims on Sicily, to refrain from sailing her warships in Italian waters, and to pay an indemnity of 3,200 talents. However, the Carthaginian army is allowed to return home with its arms. Rome is now the dominant power in the western Mediterranean basin. Alright, and then this is the Mercenary War. A mercenary army of some 20,000 is transported from Sicily to Carthaginian territory by Carthaginian commander Gesco. On arrival in Carthaginian territory, the mercenaries submit a demand to Hanno the Great for payment of their contracts. Hanno attempts unsuccessfully to convince the mercenaries to accept smaller payments due to Carthage's impoverished post-war conditions. Negotiations break down, the mercenaries take up arms, march on Tunis, occupy it, and threaten Carthage directly. Given their strong position, the mercenaries inflate their demands and demand payment for the non-mercenary Libyan conscripts in the army as well. Gisco is sent to negotiate with the mercenaries at Tunis. So this is the next. So there's an important historical point there, which the game can't really capture because it doesn't have the mechanics for it. But Rome won a war against Carthage that wasn't even on Carthaginian territory. I mean, it sort of was, but Carthage was occupying Sicily. Carthage is complicated because, although Carthage is based here, they're Phoenicians from Greece that came from Greece a few hundred years earlier, so they sort of occupy everywhere. So whether it's Carthaginian territory or not is kind of a complicated question, but it's sort of a proxy war on a different island. And the Romans beat the Carthaginians eventually and then forced them to agree to terms which crippled Carthage and ultimately let the Romans set up an even more devastating attack on them, which is something I think the Romans repeated later on. Like, they did that quite a lot. So the terms that the Carthaginians weren't allowed to sail in Italian waters meant that there was no way to prevent the Romans from then expanding further. I guess it was because Carthage was now sort of in striking distance of Rome, and I assume they were worried about that, but it ultimately did lead to their... It seems in retrospect that the ultimate Roman defeat of Carthage after that first victory seems inevitable, because each time they just sort of crushed them a bit more. Right. Speaking of which, we're going to fight in Corsica. Is that everything? I think so. The other one that doesn't come up yet is the way that Rome won all its battles. I think I mentioned before, is like, it wasn't battle tactics or battle strategies or gladiuses, gladii, or legionaries or any of that. It was the fact that they could produce soldiers so incredibly quickly. Particularly during this period, Rome lost more battles than it won. But no one else could keep up with the rate at which they could replenish their troops. So they would raise a legion, they would send it into battle, the legion would get wiped out. So they would just go raise another legion, and then they would send that one into battle as well, and that one would get wiped out too. And eventually the enemy would just run out of forces, and the Romans would win by default, it seems. And we think of them as this magnificent military war machine, but actually they were just apparently really good at producing babies. I guess that must be related to something to do with citizen soldiery, right? Because like there are other countries like Persia or Egypt that had enormous populations, and they were never as militarily... Well, I mean, sorry, there are periods in history where Persia was extremely militarily successful, but Persia never conquered the world in the way that Rome did, so they must have leveraged their manpower differently to the way everyone else did somehow. What questions am I missing here? Are we doing... Yeah, the fact that they're all supposed to be in. Yeah, Vader comes from Invader and so on. But I think it was kind of like retrofitted, right? Like, and then, but honestly, I do think Darth Sidious sounds quite goofy. Like Vader is, I don't know. It's obviously it's difficult to not be biased towards older Star Wars sometimes, but I think like Vader is nowhere near as goofy as Sidious is. Sidious is so like obviously the word insidious. It doesn't really have any other. It doesn't have any other meaning. Whereas Vader means father, and well, it almost means father, and it sort of has more implications, and you know, it's almost a more nuanced word due to being a bit subtler. Whereas Sidious is really on the nose. Why am I getting attrition? Guess there must have been a stormy sea or something. Don't know. Right, well the Carthaginians haven't come out of nowhere and attacked, so let's send these guys. Oh, what's happening here? Oh, they got the plague. Oh, what? Is that these filthy Celts? No, Gauls. These filthy Gauls. Yeah, these filthy Gauls have spread the plague now. Well, Rome hasn't got it, so I guess it's spread to the sea somehow. So they've caught it due to being at sea. I guess it must be in this sea region. Okay, how would I get onto the... Am I not allowed to attack on... There's no way with the default UI to really check how to get onto the island. You can't just sail on anywhere because there are cliffs and beaches and things. and it's very unintuitive to work out what the best way of getting on is. So if I'm holding down the right mouse button to see where they can auto move to, I think they can just attack it. But I think you also get, like, attacking from the sea is not a good idea because you have to land your forces during the battle and it's tedious and ineffective. So I think sailing down and landing on here is probably the right thing to do. But in theory, I can land here, but it doesn't want me to do that. Oh, I guess that's because I think the city is projecting a zone of control around it, and I'm not allowed to move inside that zone of control without attacking. So I think we're going to go down this way, maybe, probably. And these guys are so slow. Oh, I'm doing 240. Nah, is my voice sounding really wet today? I have this awful, like moisture mouth thing, and I don't know how to fix it. I think I need a better quality microphone that's further away from my mouth or something like that. Listening back, it sounds horrible to me. What happened? Rome takes over full control of Sicily. I assume that doesn't include Syracuse. 2 of Carthage's mercenary commanders, Squiggle Spendius and Mathos Squiggle, convinced the Libyan conscripts in the mercenary army that is currently occupying the Carthaginian city of Tunis to accept their leadership. They persuade the native Libyans that Carthage will take revenge against them for their part in the conflict once the foreign mercenaries are paid and sent home. They then convince the combined mercenary armies to revolt against Carthage and convince the various native Libyan towns and cities to back the revolt. Spendius and Mathos then take the Carthaginian commander Gesco as hostage. What started as an argument over pay owed to soldiers by the Carthaginian government explodes into a full-scale revolt known as the Mercenary War. The Libyan forces loyal to the mercenaries besiege the towns of Utica and Hippocrate, which refuse to defect to the mercenaries. Hanno the Great is given command of the Carthaginian forces, however the mercenaries defeat the Carthaginian armies in the Battle of Utica. Carthage decides to give Hamilcar Barca joint command with Hanno the Great. Hamilcar Barca is able to end the siege of Utica by the mercenaries. He is then placed in complete command of the Carthaginian forces and defeats the mercenaries in the Battle of the Bagradas River. After the Numidian mercenary leader Narawas defects to Hamilcar Barca, Numidian reinforcements, about 2,000 men, help him defeat the mercenaries again. Hamilcar pardons his captured prisoners, accepting into his army anyone who will fight for Carthage and exiling anyone who will not. So where was that? In Tunis. Is that... It's Tunisia, right? Is that over here? My Mediterranean geography is so bad. You know, I'm actually going to look that one up because I'm interested. I've been avoiding looking these things up. Where is Tunisia? Oh, Tunisia is just near... Tunisia is like here. So it must be right near Carthage. Don't know if it's actually got a city on the map or not. Oh yeah, I remember. I was sending this spy over here, right? There's a reason that she's going all the way over here. Oh, did they change the name of it? Oh, no. This city, in the original map, I'm pretty sure, unless it's just around the corner, this city on the original map is called Nova Carthago. And if you Google Nova Carthago, there is a city called Nova Carthago, or there was, in the southeast corner of Spain. And the funny thing about Nova Carthago is that Carthage, so this is Carthage, although they've called it, I guess Carthage is what it's called in their language, but I think the Romans called it Carthage. And what it means is, Carthage means new city. So then Nova Carthago means new city. And that's actually its genuine name, which I thought was a really funny way to name a quite important city. I guess by that point everyone had forgotten it meant new city, and they were just like, we need a new one of those. There are loads of little historical details when you click on these. There are so many of them and it'll take so long to read, I've decided not to do it. Right, are these fleets ready to go yet? Yeah. We could squeeze a few more of these in. I'm not trying to do any historical realism with the fleets because I don't know how to. I've no idea what would be a historically realistic Roman fleet. A bunch of guys on a... Yeah, right, the city. The city's so Spanish they named it 3 times. She's going and exploring all of Greece. Find out what's going on in Greece. bunch of agents hanging around here, just chilling. There's a governor, spy, another governor, a hero, champion. Don't know what's going on. I guess they're all just attacking. What's that? Pella. I was interested in what Pella is, and here's a little thing to pop up. Pella is the seat of the Macedonian kingdom. Where do I know the word Pella from? Or maybe I'm getting it confused with Peltast. There's so much like kind of important historical information that I don't know anything about. Alright, I think that's the end of the turn. Still can't spend any money or build anything. My income has absolutely plummeted. This was at like plus 7,000 2 turns ago, and now it's dropped to almost nothing. I don't know what. Maybe that's because these guys are. Maybe they pay more because they're on campaign or something. I don't know how this game works. You'd think I'd have figured it out by now, but no idea. Well, what did I say I was going to talk about? I said I was going to talk about role-playing, and this is relevant to UTHO if you're listening. What's the best way to start this subject? When I was younger, I first started role-playing like in the early 90s. I think it was probably the very late 80s when I first encountered it. Oh, this isn't good. What's going on? Right. Carthage is attacking... Carthage is attacking Syracuse. Right, I don't think there's any point getting involved in that because they're just going to wipe out the Syracusans. So how? I don't know how. There seem to be a lot more of these than there are of these. Oh, but I guess these are actual ships. So even though they're kind of weak, they're probably just going to ram them and destroy them. If these guys retreated and fought on the land, then they'd be fine. But if they stand and die, they're just going to get wiped out. Oof. Alright, bye-bye Syracuse. And if Carthage and Syracuse want to wipe each other out, that's fine by me. Well, they actually did. They sailed a huge army out to wipe out Syracuse. Didn't attack me for some reason. So in the late 80s and the early 90s, that was like after the initial heyday of D&D and just before like the explosion of indie RPGs and things like World of Darkness and that kind of thing. So it was a kind of a slight interim period of role-playing. But there were children's role-playing books and that kind of thing. Like if you know the Final Fantasy gamebook series, there was Final Fantasy Fighting Fantasy. There was a Fighting Fantasy role-playing series that I played with my friends a lot, and all sorts of little tiny like books you could buy in a bookshop. You couldn't buy D&D in a bookshop at the time, but there were sort of books that were specifically designed to be more popular and saleable. Ooh, that one's a bit more tempting. Yeah, sure. I'll auto-resolve that one, I think, 'cause it'd be a boring fight otherwise. Why did they attack? I don't understand. Alright, well my garrison got wiped out, but I think that's quite a good deal to wipe out a huge number of Carthaginians. It's so confusing when the map is rotated. It takes me a while to work out what I'm looking at. And I roleplayed with Vernick, did you watch the Gamers last night in the end? There's a fantastic... Well, sorry, I shouldn't say fantastic because it starts out so bad at the start, but I really like it towards the middle and the end. It's really good. But there's like the first 20 or 25 minutes are just painful to watch, but then it picks up. You know, I role played with a group of friends, and you know they mucked about, and we were teenage boys, so half of them were playing girls and behaving inappropriately, and there was all sorts of, you know, it was just sort of, it's what happens if you let teenage boys loose on anything. It was just nonsense and chaos and really good fun as a result, right? And as I got a little bit older, I ended up doing, what did I do? A couple of different things. I did role playing by email, which was quite an interesting experience because that was effectively it was essentially like group storytelling. It wasn't really role playing in the same way. It was more like, you know, you send it, like the GM writes a little email that explains a situation that's happening, and then you write an email saying, in a story format, like here's what my character does for a few minutes, an hour, a day, or whatever, you know, and it was up to your maturity to sort of not disrupt the game in that way of like. So it was a Star Trek. I played a couple of different Star Trek games, and so the captain would send an email saying, you know, the crew have arrived on Risa and everyone's having shore leave. So then I would write what my character got up to, and it, you know, it didn't really interact very much with what the quote main plot was supposed to be, because that was a more controlled thing. And then they're all just dying of plague here. Yeah, there was some shenanigans. Yeah, I didn't have any shenanigans. I think my character on Risa, what happened to him? He fell into he caught a disease. He caught an airborne pathogen which only affected his species. He fell into a coma. He had a dream vision where he met himself. No, then his future self came back in time, and they fought, and that's what knocked him into a coma. And then he had a dream where he he was like fighting himself in his mind, and then one of the two of them died and the other one woke up, and no one could tell them apart because they were physically identical. Like, they couldn't tell which one was the older one. And then it was ambiguous whether he was himself or his evil future self for like a few months after that. That was good fun. That's what I did on Risa. Got replaced by my evil future self. Right, sorry, where am I going to? Oh, plebeian reforms. Oh, love it. Why has this happened? I don't know. I don't think these are dated correctly. I think they've tried to approximate, like, because of the pace of the game, I think if they did them at the correct historical dates, you'd just never see them, or you'd never see the imperial reforms. So I don't know whether this is actually... I think in the case of the plebeian reforms, I don't think they have a specific date, because it's not really a reform, it's more like a gradual change over time of like weaponry. I'm going to read this one out because it's quite... There's only like 2 of these in the whole game. The wars of the past decades and our continual bouts with Italian forces have somehow proven fruitful as the influence of Roma grows beyond its humble Italian origins. Our consuls have perfected manipular tactics, the old hoplite phalanx replaced by 3 lines of maniples, sorted by age and experience instead of class and wealth. The young Hastati backed up by older, more heavily armed principes, followed by the veteran Triarii in reserve. Our military has also adopted some of the armaments and armour of our enemies, their utility proven by the mercenaries of Ponii and the warriors of the Celtae. Ponii sounds like someone's My Little Pony role-playing character. Our soldiers now carry pila, javelins, and Hastatian principes both have replaced their haste, spears, with the deadly short sword we call the gladius. The older Triarii, reluctant to change, still fight as a hoplite phalanx. Achensian levies are no longer used, while velites become the chosen skirmisher unit. New reforms usually open up new equipment and new ways of combat, not necessarily stronger, but usually more efficient for the time and the challenges ahead. Blah blah blah. Right, so we're going to have to upgrade our troops. It's unfortunate that our troops just left on campaign. We're going to have to upgrade them when they come back. Because I don't think they upgrade automatically. Yeah, they're still Camillan. So they now have the option to be upgraded, but I don't think we can upgrade them without going home. Oh, maybe we can. That's weird if we can. Maybe we should move them first. Right, let me just move all these guys. Are they not? Look at this. Still can't get on. Ah, they can. I don't like being at sea. It's dangerous at sea. There are Carthaginians. It's really scary at sea. Wait, I mean Carthaginians are dogs and should all be wiped out. That's what I meant to say. They can't upgrade. And they can. Oh. Is that because they're in Roman territory? Because I control this sea somehow? I don't think I do, though. No, it's contested. Well, at least, I guess it may be because it's not hostile territory. Maybe that's the rule. I don't know. It seems fundamentally unintuitive to be able to upgrade your troops while they're sailing at sea. That doesn't quite seem right. Okay, so what can they upgrade to? Ah, tribunes. So they're currently just a general's bodyguard, but they can be upgraded to tribunes. Fancy. Look at that. We've got white horses now. Equites Extraordinarii can be upgraded to late. I can't actually see what stat difference that might make, but let's assume that it's good. Oh, they've got white horses too. Early Triarii to late Triarii. Oh, look. They don't look as cool. They look better before. I wasn't sure why they were crouching so much, though. Pedites Extraordinarii. Fancy. Early Principes to late Principes. Oh, no, here you go. There's some early Romans right there. Samnite Principes. Very un-Roman looking facial hair. Hastati, Samnite Hastati, late Rorarii, who have swords, do they? Or do they have... No, they have spears still. I can't actually tell. Oh yeah, that is a spear, yeah. The Italian levies are still the same, and then the levy javelin men are going to be retrained into velites. Boom. Velites got javelins, so if you've seen any of the previous battles, they're going to just absolutely wreck everything that they come into contact with. And the levy slingers can't be upgraded, but I think levy slingers are no longer a part of the Roman army, so we should probably get rid of those and replace them with something else. Let's go through and do the same thing here. Yeah, we're Romans now. Right, and they can't be upgraded, sadly. Oh, My Little Pony Roman role-playing. That's got to be a thing. I want to see that. Discord. No, I don't. Wait, actually. Oh, God. I don't want to see the off-topic image channel of that Discord. That sounds like a terrible idea. Some fool has been caught defacing the Temple of Jupiter. We could pay the temple. We could hand him over to Jupiter. Yeah, let's hand him over to Jupiter. That went really well last time. Pretty sure. I still don't understand why my income is so low. Something's going wrong here, but I don't know what it is. I mean, I have plenty of money, so I don't need to worry for now. What did we finish researching? Research... Oh, concrete. Oh, so we can make aqueducts now. That's good. Alright, what happened in 239? Births and deaths are kind of intriguing, but there's so many Antigonuses that it doesn't... I don't know which one's which. Hang on, I'm just going to drink some water so I sound less wet. Concerned that Hamilcar Barca's leniency in pardoning those he has captured who have participated in the Mercenary War will encourage others to defect, Mathos and Spendius order the mutilation and execution of about 700 Carthaginian prisoners, including Gesco. With the mercenaries jointly guilty of these atrocities, defectors dare not face Carthaginian justice under Hamilcar. Oof. Carthage is besieged by the mercenary armies, while the city of Utica revolts and attempts to secede from Carthage. Carthage appeals to Hiero II of Syracuse and to Rome for aid against the mercenaries. However, the mercenary leaders reject the efforts of Roman mediators. I guess they must have been really worried to get Rome to help. Sardinia revolts against Carthage, and Rome takes the opportunity to annex the island. So I guess in game mechanical terms, I guess Carthage is having severe public order penalties, and thus having revolts start. But that isn't really something that the game is doing. I don't think you get like public order penalties for losing wars. I don't think that's really a thing that can happen. It's interesting. Like I find that I really like the immediate comparison of history versus game. And I don't mean this as a criticism at all, because there's no way a game can ever model everything, and it would be probably annoying if they did. But it's interesting to think that so much of what influenced the flow and outcome of history isn't something that a conventional strategy game even attempts to model, let alone succeeds at. Like it's so, and that's part of the reason, right? Is it's so arbitrary and like random. Effectively, it's like every turn roll or die. If you get a 1, then something terrible happens and your whole civilization revolts, and Rome comes in and steals it from you. And that explains, a lot of Roman history worked under those rules, and that would make for a terrible, annoying game to play, I think. Right, let's start bringing this fleet round just in case Carthage starts to mess with us. Can I recruit while... Yes, I can. Is there room for more? Yeah, there is. I guess they don't actually have to stay in port to do that. Which makes perfect sense if I think about it, but for some reason that didn't occur to me. What's going on here? This is a part of the world I just don't intuitively grasp at all. It's still, like, the whole layout of Greece still just confuses me. Obviously, like, Greek legend is so important in pop culture, but Greece itself geographically I find so unintuitive, and I really shouldn't. Alright, are these guys coming on? No, I'd moved them already. Yeah. Right, I think that's it. Still, oh, I can build aqueducts now, but I don't have any way to build an aqueduct. I don't think. Can I just swap this for an aqueduct? Do I want an aqueduct? What does an aqueduct even do? No idea. Well, guess I can't have a. I don't mean Greece is bad by any means. I just mean, like, I look at it and I don't think, well, that's obviously Greece. I think that's weird and interesting. It seems novel and exciting, you know, rather than like familiar. If I look at Italy's coastline or the UK's coastline, it's just like the most obvious thing in the world to me. But Greece, I guess I just never looked at maps of Greece enough as a child, and so just don't think about it. Right. Oh. Oh, right. I'm not researching anything yet. Slave trade. Yeah, sure. Let's research slavery. That's good. And someone has leveled up, but we don't know who. Let's just click through everyone and see what happens. Yeah, it's this guy. There you go. Have a guard dog. That one. That one. Sure. Okay. All right. Where was I? Role playing. And then, so I had quite a lot of role playing experience. By no means am I a very experienced role player, but I had role play with a bunch of different people in a bunch of different ways. And I joined when I was at university. I was into Neverwinter Nights. I made Neverwinter Nights content. I was a member of several different Neverwinter Nights communities, and I joined a role playing server. So one of the things Neverwinter Nights supported, but was sort of almost borderline unused, was you could actually make your own MMO effectively in it, because it supported quite a lot of players connecting to the same permanently running server. So it was possible to sort of set up your own MMO content and GM it. You could do that for small groups, or you could do it for small groups where you would load the game and they would jump into it to play, or you could just run the server permanently and then anyone could log in and out, and it could support, I think, something like 50 players at a time or something like that. So quite a lot of people set up. They're asking for less money now because I have less money.
Will you agree to trade?
Oh no, I don't. I have less income. Sorry, I'm getting confused. And there was a fascinating discussion that happened between these players. Oh yeah, no, sorry, I forgot the important previous bit. So I had some experience of gamer communities and role-playing communities complaining about what were called in the mid-90s were called munchkins, and I think now we would probably just call power gamers, which were players who, rather than, and this isn't my opinion, this is me sort of quoting the way it was thought about at the time, like they sort of didn't get the game, and rather than playing quote properly, they would instead min-max their characters and try to win and that kind of thing. And this was very frowned upon in role-playing discussions and on role-playing Usenet servers and that sort of thing. People weren't keen on anyone who played the game wrong. And I was sort of, because, you know, as I was, I think I'm sort of demonstrating in this, where I'm sort of ignoring the mechanics and playing on easy and trying to roleplay, that min-maxing is definitely not my way of thinking about things at a fundamental level, and I would rather play on easy than min-max on hard, if that makes sense. It depends on the game context, right? But where there's an opportunity for role-playing. And so that judgment, which I now recognise in retrospect as being just a very unhelpful way of looking at the world, made sense to me at the time. But what I came across with this Neverwinter Nights community was there was a lot of argument between people who were definitely not. Oh, my faction leader's died. That's not ideal. What's going to happen now? Blah blah blah. Something about public games. Don't care. Right, my faction leader's dead. What does that mean? Oh God, right? Do I have a faction anymore? Oh yeah, I do. Look, hey, it turns out I have a son. Fantastic. So who is now the leader? I don't have a wife anymore, apparently. Oh yeah, no, the wife is... I guess the wife survived? But she's no longer listed in the family tree, is that... I'm pretty sure one of these two women was his wife, but she's now... Yeah, I'm sure I didn't have a son last term when I opened this interface, but now I have a son, apparently. Or possibly we've adopted someone into the family? It's a bit unintuitive, isn't it? So who is Primus Inter Pares now? It's not him. It's not any of these people. Does my faction just not have a leader anymore? Is that how it works? Oh, the recent death of the faction's leader leads to political instability. That is fun. That is non-ideal. Oh, right. They've got negative loyalty, and they've got negative loyalty, but there's no risk of secession at the moment. So I think I don't need to worry for now. There's a cute little rule here. So this guy has the Diplomat Trait because he's currently the leader of the faction. So the faction always has this trait and always has this trait. So I think they like conquering. Is that right? Yeah, they love it when I conquer stuff, and they hate it when I have like trade with barbarians. But this guy likes positive relations with other factions because it's his trait, not the faction's trait. And then I can see who the successor to that faction would be. And actually, as it happens, he's got the same trait. But I could kill him, and then it's telling me that the successor will have a different trait instead. So what's this guy here? +2 loyalty for every right. So that's a positive trait, whereas that's a negative trait. So I want him to be alive, and I don't like his successor very much. I wonder if I can murder him. That seems mean. Right, I need to get this guy out into the world doing stuff, don't I? Do I have any... So I need to win some battles with him. Should probably stick him in the 1st Legion, shouldn't I? Who's currently in the 1st Legion? How do I do this? Somewhere here. General. Replace the general with... Equites politician? Yeah, there we go. So he costs nothing to hire because he is... Oh, I have the option to have some Scipio Praetorian Guard. So these are early Praetorians. That's interesting. It says they eventually became the Praetorian Guard, but I think that's like hundreds of years later, so I'm not sure about the naming of that, really. Right, but I know he's going to have some tribunes. So is that right? D. Sextilius Megillus. He's my guy, yeah? Right, yeah. Because I need him to win some battles, because if he doesn't win any battles, he can't get promoted. Oh, wow, that's quite a lot of friends he can have. What we got here? Probably anything that gives gravitas is good, because gravitas is how he becomes awesome. There we go, +2 gravitas. Allows for the improvement of the intellectual character trait. Pfft, he wants to be an intellectual, not him. He is in fact a sociopath. That's his character trait. Great. Just what we wanted. I don't know what any of this does. I think this is all in the mod. Far too detailed. Right. Right, we're going to Alalia. I think there is a minor UX point there. It's only a little point, but I think there is a UX point there that I can see the name of the settlement. So each province or whatever it's called. No, because I guess this is called a settlement, but it's not. It's a place, and it's named after the largest settlement in that place, which may or may not be. I'm assuming that they've done their due diligence, and it's the historically most significant part of that place at that time period. But actually there isn't anything in game that tells me what this island is called. It's not named that way. It's named after this city. And a lot of the ancient names are, you can like this is apparently called Corsica even in 238 BC, but yeah, I don't know, it's a minor complaint, but I think it's a bit odd. Right, what else is happening? Got some boats coming. I I think these guys are probably better just build more boats for now. Poor little third legion. Oh, they should upgrade. Yeah. And of course it's a Roman reform, so all of these allied units can't upgrade because there's no equivalent. So they're just the same kind of thing. Oh, what? Okay. Whatever it is that's sapping my money is continuing to sap my money. I just got to try and figure out what that is now, haven't I? Army upkeep. Oh, is it because my navy is getting bigger and bigger? Yeah, right, that's the problem. I'm building boats every single turn. Okay, well I've got 70 turns of income there. I think I'll probably manage. I could put taxes up. Is that a problem? Oh yeah, I probably shouldn't put taxes up while I've got chaos going on because of the changing whatever it is. Like I'm getting some sort of public order penalty due to not have my leader dying. Let's see if I can get any more trade routes with anybody. Diplomat Trait. You want a trade agreement, right? No, no they don't. They hate money. Impera I'm going to war with eventually. Gay July. You want a trade agreement, right? Yeah. Oh, right, yeah, that's opened up. Because the trade route is giving me line of sight. So that's given us a massive amount of Macedon. Classic Greek accent there.
Greetings. Now speak plainly.
Oh, no, that's not what I want. Trade agreement. Yeah, everyone wants those Roman goods.
Well met, friend. Sit and let your words move.
Good thing my spy is just wandering off around the world. Turditani. This is not a good name, is it? Talking about... right, yeah, okay, so talking about words that sound good and sound bad, right? Turditani is not good, for obvious reasons. Tolistobogii. That's terrible. That's terrible. Like, there's too much going on. It's got the word bog in it. Boggy sounds funny. That is not a good... Pergamon sounds like something you put on cakes. Yeah, let's not go through the whole list. But yeah, there are definitely names there that sound dumb. Just because of the implication of what they mean in our language, right? Yeah, okay, that's brought up our income quite a lot. Oh, no. Leveling up. Oh, we can level up one of our existing things. We want plus tax rate. Yeah. And also you can have a pet snake. Congrats. And someone else has leveled up as well. Don't know who. Movement range. Oh, can't have movement range. Okay, I'll have that one then. Okay. Right, try again. So in this role playing community, so it was like a server of role players that were all hanging out. If you've been in an MMO role playing community like the RS community, it's exactly like that, right? And they were hanging out and telling stories in their in forums and establishing character backgrounds and critiquing each other and discussing lore and that kind of thing. And the interesting thing I noticed was that there was a real cliquiness isn't quite right. It was more like a culture war. Because it wasn't like specific individual cliques, it was like two different ideologies. And the two ideologies were essentially method acting versus not method acting. Do you do everything? Do you make character decisions based fundamentally on exactly how your character would act in that situation? Or do you not? And if you don't, you are not a proper role player, was how it went, effectively. And I wasn't that kind of role player, and so I found that whereas in the earlier Munchkin example, I'd found it very easy to side with the pompous people who sounded like they were in the right. In this case, I was very confused, and I found it hard to identify with the sort of dominant, correct sounding opinion, which made me think about the whole subject quite a lot. And I came across a role-playing theory. So there are two different versions of this theory. The version I came across is called GNS. And GNS is complicated. If you Google it, you'll find endless people arguing about it and insulting each other, because the person that named it that wrote a whole bunch of other stuff, some of which was super problematic. But I find the terminology helpful, so I use that version of it. And GNS stands for... so I don't recommend reading up on the theory in its entirety, because it goes completely off the deep end and makes a whole bunch of unsupportable claims. But the absolute basics of it are good. And the absolute basics are that there are three approaches to role-playing, which it calls gamism, narrativism, and simulationism. And as soon as I read that, I recognised the immediate things that I'd been experiencing. Hi, Bidder and May. I'm playing Rome in Diplomat Empera. So I recognised those as the three kinds of role-playing I'd been exposed to. And I found... Nope, don't care. Just trade partners. I found... not only did it help me to understand the split between the two groups of quote, role players that I was watching at the time, who were then narrativists and simulationists, it helped me to understand that the earlier dismissal of Munchkins was itself also just sort of elitist nonsense. And so I found the whole approach really, really helpful. Alright, what do we got here? A riot has started in the capital. Oh, that sounds really bad. Do we want to crush them? Accuse them? Accuse them in public, accuse them in private, or crush the riot? I'm playing on easy with a weird set of role-playing rules. Let's crush them. No. Yeah, let's crush them. It's Rome. I'm playing Divided Emperor on easy, and I'm trying to build pseudo-historically realistic legions with some degree of success, and then I'm getting massacred by Carthage at sea by inadvertently sailing out into the ocean. Right, these guys are going to go attack Alalia, aren't they? Why is the first legion so much slower than the other two? Oh, is it because the others have got experienced commanders that have plus movement range abilities? I think it probably is. Why are they missing? Such different... Let's get him to go and join them instead. Maybe they can move a bit faster. Since we've got two entire other legions who are babysitting my my idiot faction leader child. We're going to help him get some promotions. We'll love it. The other factions love it when I give everything to my guy. I'm assuming it's a good idea for my faction to have more stuff. I don't actually know if that's true. Right. And these boats. Oh, spy. She's apparently the saviour of my economy, just wandering around meeting people, making friends. Or just noticing that countries exist, because no one in Rome had noticed that, like, anywhere outside the immediate Mediterranean even existed, so it's confusing to them. We never did find Nova Carthago, did we? I think they must have renamed it, I'm not sure why. Maybe it wasn't called Nova Carthago at that point in history or something, so they didn't. I don't know. There's quarrelling sort of attitudes to what something should be called, I think. Right, where was I? So yeah, there's these three attitudes to role playing, and I mean that was useful for resolving a couple of specific questions I had in the immediate short term, but it was also a huge influence on me in just thinking about how people play games at all in the first place. Which is sorry, Vidia, why do I do what? It helped me, particularly the point about Munchkins, helped me to understand. People play games for different reasons, and that's okay. It's not okay to be judgmental about how someone chooses to play the game. Yes, Vampire the Masquerade is intended as like a dark, introspective role-playing game. Yeah, I'm sort of talking about Roman history and talking about game design while I'm playing. I think it works quite well with this game because there's incredibly long pauses between turns, and I'm not sure I'm a particularly skilled player where you can get much out of my Roman. My Total War tactical knowledge, I'm also not an expert on history, but I was hoping Trow would show up and educate us all on Roman history, but he didn't. Sorry, where was I? Yeah, it's not okay. Like Vampire the Masquerade is a good example of it. It's a role-playing game which is designed for like introspective character storytelling about how awful it is to be a monster and to be rejected by society and to crave human contact and so on and so on. That's what it's supposed to be about. That's what its designer originally intended it to be used for. And in practice, I think probably the majority of its players play it as like an urban fantasy, a dark urban fantasy superhero game where they tool up with weapons and superpowers and massacre everything. Gate July wants a military line. No, that's a terrible plan. And that's okay. Like, it's okay to play a game, quote, wrong. If you're enjoying, if you're getting something out of it, that's absolutely fine. And I found that to be such a like, it seems completely obvious in retrospect that people have they just play games for different reasons. But so much internet discourse, like reviews, like discussions, all forums, all Reddit threads, all Discords, have people just lecturing each other on why they're playing the game wrong, and maybe if you played more quests you would enjoy them, maybe if you skipped quests you would enjoy the game more, that kind of thing, and people fundamentally not understanding that other people don't like the same thing as them. And I've having known this for now 20 years, I still struggle with it, Like, I came to this realization 20 years ago, and I still struggle with that fundamental sort of, but how can you not like that? It's really good, Like, how can you not enjoy the game the same way as me? It's hard. It's a hard thing to internalize and to continually sort of remind yourself of. Oh, good old spy has been seen again. Ah, okay, great. They love me, because I'm so powerful. Oh, that's cool, but yeah. What happened in 236? Scipio Africanus has been born. He's going to be a general in the Second Punic War. Well, that'll be helpful. Right. I have a fleet now. Probably just going to get jumped by like 3 Carthaginian fleets. But it's fine. Okay, you guys. Right, we're going to go conquer this. Wow, that is more heavily defended than I expected. Let's move this other army up behind. If we're playing on easy, we can probably win anyway. I mean, partly my stacks are so bad because they've hardly got any troops in. There we go, that's a bit better. Let's save there. Fight this battle. Then we've got like 3 more loading screens to look forward to. So the reason I thought that would be interesting for you, Theo, is that it's that distinction between simulation and narrativism that I think lore players are often divided along those lines. I think lore players are quite rarely gamists. So a gamist is sorry, I should probably break down the actual concept, shouldn't I? A gamist is someone who approaches a game as something to win, or to excel at. I mean, not all games can be won, you know, but if you're going to play the game, you're going to play it well. You don't necessarily want to dominate, but if you want to dominate, you're a gamist, right? Like, if you care about playing on hard and getting good strategies and you know, fundamentally the game itself doesn't really matter that much. What matters is like your performance in it. That's gamism. So RuneScape is very much like majority gamists now. Like, if you're a PvPer, you're a gamist. If you're a skiller, you're a gamist. If you're a PVMer, you're a gamist. So what we think of like the fundamental breakdown of RuneScape players are almost all like different subcategories of gamist. If you're a lore player, you're probably not a gamist, although you still might be. But lore players are probably divided, I would guess relatively evenly, but you know, could be. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? It's like people get angry when you play the game wrong, right? Like, I mean, I'm sure there are some people that would be really annoyed at the way I'm playing Rome too. Yeah, like they'd be like, "Why are you doing? What? Your army is so garbage. What are you doing? How can you play that way? It's ridiculous." I would guess that the lore community or lore play, so I should say lore players and questers. I don't mean, because the lore community means something fairly specific, right? But like lore players and questers, those who aren't gamists, are probably divided roughly evenly into people who think in simulationist terms, which would be that'd be people like Wahisatal and Aquamancer, right? Who I think largely think in terms of realism and logic and consistency. And then I don't have a good example of a narrativist, but that would be someone who is primarily focused on the story. Was the story meaningful? Were the characters interesting? Alright, what are we doing here? So I've got some... I should probably wait for reinforcements, but they might sally out and attack us while we're waiting for reinforcements. This is my first legion, which is all garbage spearmen. I forgot about this. They haven't been upgraded to swordsmen yet. Let's just stick them in a line. There we go. That's got my best troops on the left, got my worst troops on the right. That is the definitive deployment strategy. There we go. Put them in skirmish mode. Let's have some equites there, and some equites there, and the general there. There we go. What's that? Oh, war dogs. Yeah, there we go. I think so. The theory I'm talking about is a tabletop role playing theory, and that's important because it's about tabletop role playing, and so you have to be careful. Part of the reason I said don't bother going and looking up the actual GNS theory is like there are lots of different ways to think about it unconstructively, like dismissively labelling people in certain categories. If I say, you know, Aquamancer's a simulationist, you can say that in such a way that is very dismissive, and some people will get quite angry about doing that, and other people will get quite angry about not doing that, and the whole thing can lead to just conflict and confusion. Let's get some more of these troops onto the map. Come here. Is their army at sea? Why is their army at sea? I wonder if I can just storm the... Do you think I can just storm the village before they get here? If I can capture this, I just win automatically. They're probably going to make it though, aren't they? Oh no, there's some guys waiting. Right, now let's not do that. Oh. That's messed up my formation completely. What's this? There's a massive amount of cavalry. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to do what every elite commander does. We're going to get all the cavalry and put them all in one unit. It's definitely the most efficient way to handle cavalry. Okay, you guys can be control group 5. And you can all go over there. Yeah, I mean, I've said, having said that I'm not a gamist, I find it difficult to play a bad character on purpose. But okay, so but I mean, I guess that's partly where it is. That I would say that because I'm fairly extreme example of a narrativist in the sense that not because I'm interested in story, This is the distinction, I think, in between a simulationist and a narrativist. A narrativist is more about telling a story, and a simulationist is more about letting the story play out according to what would happen. Does that make sense as a distinction? So if you play something like Dwarf Fortress or The Sims or other sort of simulation games like that, those are not narrativist games at all. They just sort of, they're games that have simulations, and then because of the simulation, random things happen. So your dwarf accidentally trips over and dies, and that starts a riot. And that's a simulationist attitude to storytelling, because the story is emergent, and it's really interesting to see what happens. Where are they going? Are they going to land on the beach over here? I need to actually sort out my troops in this battle, otherwise I'm going to get massacred, right? Let's get you guys. You can all stand here. And let's have some more melee guys. You guys are all melee guys. Here's me not being gamist. There's some more melee guys. You can all stand maybe here. There we go. Wow, one of those units is huge. Look at that. What's going on there? And then I've got quite a lot of skirmishers. You can all stand in front. And a slightly unnecessary 3 units of war dogs who can hide at the back and maybe contribute. So having said, like, you know, the whole point is there's no wrong way to do things, right? Like, that's the important thing to recognize, is that no one is wrong. I think my opinion over time has become it's a good idea to play in a way that the game is well suited for, if that makes sense. So I think if you come, like, having used Dwarf Fortress as an example of a kind of extreme storytelling simulation, if you try to approach Dwarf Fortress from a gamist perspective or from a narrativist perspective, you'll ultimately be quite disappointed, because it doesn't really handle that very well. And I'm uncomfortable with simulationism, but if you why are they running away so quickly? Get out, get out. There's definitely the most efficient way to play this game is to send 8 units of cavalry after 1 unit of archers. That is definitely correct play, and not me being a complete moron. Don't like the look of that. If you play badly enough, it's quite easy to lose a huge number of units to, like, 2 enemies. What are these guys? They look pretty tough, don't they? There are only a small number of them. Yeah, sorry, Dor. Yeah, that was exactly what I was thinking. Is like, yes, if you're taking a narrativist perspective, which is the distinction from simulationist is I'm going to tell a story and I'm going to be in control of the story, or someone is going to be in control of the story. You know, we want a story that's sort of emotionally satisfying and got the right beats and arcs and stuff. You know, if you take that attitude to storytelling, that's more of a narrativist way of thinking, and that requires a certain amount of control. So yes, if you play like, if you want to play, you know, a foolish cleric, and that's the concept that you have, and you're going to tell stories about a foolish cleric, then low wisdom works. If you want to tell more or less any other story, then your cleric needs to be competent enough to exert, like, control over the world to the extent that you can direct what's happening. But I mean, actually, like, I mean, the clearest examples of narrativism, I think, are the ones where you do it wrong. Like in a role-playing game, if you're put in a difficult situation, say you're attacked by goblins, right? For the most part, it doesn't matter what kind of roleplay you are. Everyone's going to respond by pulling out their weapons and killing the goblins, because that's just how the game works. It's a game about killing goblins. It only goes wrong when someone doesn't do the basic expected. Sorry, let's just go wrong. You start to see the difference when you don't have a simple situation with a simple resolution, or when someone takes a simple situation with a simple resolution and just doesn't do it. Right, where is... Right, group 2, you can spread out there. But these horsemen are just waiting on the corner. So let's try and give an example here. Right. So okay. So take the example of where you've got your party and there's a bunch of goblins attacking them, and one of the party says, I side with the goblins. I turn around and I side with the goblins. That's not expected role-playing behaviour. That is an abnormal thing to happen in a role-playing game, and that still doesn't tell you what kind of player that is, but if you start to look at their motivations for why they did it, it becomes more interesting. Like, if I sided with the goblins because my friends have a lot of magic items that I want, say it's that there are some situations where, like, you can take your character from game to game. Or, I mean, it could be like an MMO context, like Neverwinter Nights would have allowed you to do this, and there are role-playing games where sort of long-term character development is actually a mechanic that exists, at which point you might want to steal your friend's equipment in order to make your character better at their expense in a PvP-ish sort of manner. You guys should probably run. This is a bad situation. Are they running? Yeah, they're just running, it's fine. Oh, is that the old... Oh, look, Principe's throwing javelins! They're doomed, they don't stand a chance. Javelins kick ass in this game, it turns out. Yeah, look, they're being absolutely torn to pieces. Look! The Principes are destroying them. Look, they're not going to make it. They're actually not going to make it to my line. They're going to run away. Are you guys going to throw some? No, they're not. They're not set up yet. Oh no, they're going to hit me. Oh no, they're going to make it. Oh, these slingers got overconfident. Yeah, overconfident. Okay, let's get in there. That's disrupted my line somewhat. This is turning into a bit of a mess, this spell. Oh, I'm getting quite a lot of slowdown now. I think that's probably the enemy general there.
One of our units has used all its ammunition.
Okay, let's get you guys to redeploy here. So yeah, so the gamist example would be, you know, betraying my friends is allowing me to win somehow. Perhaps like I've made us, you know, perhaps I talked to the GM and he agreed that the last man standing wins the role-playing game because the GM is also a gamist, or you know, some other situation in which, you know, betraying my friends allows me to win. If I'm betraying my friends because it's what my character would do, then that's obviously a you know, I'm playing a character and I've written down evil in my my alignment box, and so I've decided that the only way to be evil is to betray my friends. Because, you know, he believes in betrayal, or what, you know, whatever reason it is you've come up with, that betrayal is an inevitable and impossible to avoid course of action. That's a simulationist take on it, and the narrativist take would be me betraying my friends at this point makes the story more interesting. It has nothing to do with what has nothing to do with what my character would do. It has nothing to do with what's to my advantage. It's you know, my character behaving in this way creates a narrative event which pushes the story in an interesting or unexpected direction, and that makes the game better because the story of the game is better. So narrativism isn't exactly about caring about the story, it's more like prioritizing the dramatic arc of the story over the internal logic of the story. Does that make sense? Simulationism, so again, these are supposed to be role-playing terms used only for role-playing, but if I try to generalize them a little bit as sort of writer attitudes or game designer attitudes or game player attitudes, then simulationism is prioritizing logic and and yeah, I mean the simulation, right? Obviously, in the sense that the game is a simulation of anything, whereas narrativism is prioritizing not the story exactly, but the shape and the drama of the story. So Di said, is this the distinction between player and player character, and like you think you are your character? And I don't think that is quite that. Although simulationism obviously seems a bit more, pushes a bit further in the direction of like almost like pure method acting role playing. Oh, look at this javelin massacre that's happening. Is anyone even going to reach my lines? I'm just going to do something stupid with my horses now. How does this work? Oh, I should probably split these into two groups, actually. That would be more sensible.
One of our units has used all its ammunition.
Ah! The slowdown is really bad. What's that? Marines. Not keen on that. Yeah, that's a good example of the door. Yeah, like if you're saying like this must happen because realistically it ought to happen. I mean, in the case of so in terms, I mean, in saying he was off world is an excuse for narrativism rather than it's an excuse for narrativism rather than like narrativism itself is saying Saradomin cannot participate in this event because if he participates in this event, the event will be boring. And simulationism would be saying Saradomin must participate in this event because Saradomin would participate in this event. Does that distinction, if that distinction makes sense? And then, he was off world is a poor excuse for why he didn't participate in the event, if you see what I mean. Sorry, to the question about is it to do with whether or not you are your character? I don't think so. In the sense that, like, there is a simulation. Sorry, there is a narrativist perspective, which is essentially my character is a puppet in my play, as opposed to my character is me. And obviously, thinking about like, oh, something horrible's happening here. Well, these levies are getting absolutely destroyed by these archers. That's fine. They're just levies. That's what levies are for. I think you could say that it's a more natural. I think you could say that the two perspectives have a natural fit for. The two perspectives naturally fit the attitude of like my character is me and my character is, merely a character in the game I am playing. But I don't think they're locked to them, in that sense. They just like it makes more intuitive sense to talk about them one way or the other. I don't know. I'm paying attention to what's actually happening on the battlefront. Is it okay? Yeah, everything's fine. Lost quite a lot of... They're picking off my levies, but it doesn't seem very important, really. Oh, see you, Di. Alright, let's go roll up some of these archers. Oh god, the slowdown. Okay, I can't look at that much of the battlefield. Wow, that's bad. Maybe if I close some things. Close my googling of Tunisia. See if that helps. Because this game hasn't been very demanding so far. It's not even running at full speed. Oh, I think I did that wrong, didn't I? Yep. The other thing this game teaches me is that the Romans won because their infantry were all deadly missile troops. And there's quite a lot of historical disagreement over... Oh, those are spearmen trying to catch my horsemen. That's a bad situation. Which rule is rule 31? Oh, there's horsemen all over the... Alright, fine. Okay, if we can't escape, we'll just charge in and hope for the best. It's definitely the correct way to attack spearmen. By getting strung out over like a mile and then charging in from all directions, hoping that we win. Oh god, this is bad. This is a bad situation. Right, you guys, come and help. It's a bad situation because my generals are all in there and they might just die. Including my faction leader. That's definitely how I want this to end. So many Carthaginians running away. So many Romans not fighting. What are you guys doing? Oh, I should... war dogs. That's why I've got war dogs. Hang on. War dogs. Go! Does that work? Yeah, there we go. That's why I brought these guys. Total massacre. How are the infantry doing? Sorry, the cavalry. They're alive. Mostly. I think I'm playing in a historically realistic way in the sense that I'm very, very vaguely directing my troops around the battlefield and then forgetting a lot of them exist and just leaving them to their own devices. And sending all of my... Uh-oh. One of my generals is doing badly. Is there anyone left? We were talking about it last week, right? But there's an interesting feature of like, you know, assuming that you control your troops remotely effectively, and by that I mean more effectively than I am. You don't get in situations where your general accidentally gets caught out and massacred by an unexpected unit of troops, which are very easy to avoid. But that happens to me all the time because I'm playing badly. So extra realism points for me. I'm a total simulationist. There's another perspective you can take on the concept, and like change how you think about the concepts entirely, and say the difference between simulation and narrativism is whether you are that they're both forms of simulation, but the narrativism is attempting to simulate the logic of a Hollywood movie rather than quote real life. In this, and that I think that would be, challenge is too strong a word, Theo, but my question for you to consider would be, do you want to be Theo the history novel, or do you want to be Theo the RuneScape novel? Because novels don't operate under the same realism logic as real life does. Is Theo as I find this is an interesting question to examine the whole concept in the first place, right? Like, okay, so yeah, I'll use an example from the game I'm playing, right? So I'm playing this game in a simulationist way, having said having talked about how much of a narrativist I am, I'm playing in a purely simulationist way. I'm trying to follow historically accurate Roman conquests with historically accurate Roman troops to the extent that I'm able to and can be bothered to. And it happens that Roman history is quite a good story. I mean, it's not a super exciting story, and the little historical details, I think, add quite a lot of nuance to it that the game itself doesn't capture, but in general, you know, an interesting thing is happening. If I played as Syracuse in a historically accurate way, it would be, you know, I fight the Carthaginians for a few turns, I fight the Romans for a few turns, then I get wiped out and die. And that wouldn't be it would be historically realistic, but it wouldn't be a very interesting story. Right, what am I doing? I guess I am looting. Yeah, let's loot. Looting is always a good idea. Everyone's leveling up. Hooray. Oh, and now I control this territory. I can actually... Well, did they become a Tribune's Guard automatically? Oh, that's interesting. Oh, maybe because... Oh, they became a Tribune's Guard because they replaced the General. So they were automatically upgraded. Wow, they are... No one is going to be reinforcing here, because there are no Romans on this island. Right, okay, we can... So I think the way this works is that because these are all Greek buildings, I have to replace them. What's that? Shipwright? Do I want a shipwright here? No, I don't think I do. I've got loads of food now. I think... Oh no, let's build more of that. And... a barracks. Yes, let's convert that to an auxiliary camp. What's that? Why have they got a muster field? That's weird. Let's dismantle that. There we go. Proud Romans all. I think this fleet's big enough. Come and join in. Okay. Oh! He's leveled up. Oh yeah. He has. Of course he has. Dub dub da! As... What? Why has he got a pet sheep? This is my general guy, who I want to be good at diplomacy, right? That makes sense. Wasn't there someone else who leveled up as well? Probably could have just clicked on them, couldn't I? Plus movement range, yes, definitely. Oh, leveled up twice. What? That's exciting. Right, sorry, I'll end the turn and then I'll carry on talking about... Right, yeah, so in terms of, like... It's possible to be realistic and boring. That's the danger of the simulationist approach, is that it's kind of... It sets parameters for you, it gives you a heuristic to use, so you don't have to make... Like, sorry, it's not true that you don't have to make decisions, but you're not making decisions arbitrarily. You've got some criteria to apply in order to help you to make those decisions, right? That's the nice thing about simulationism. It gives you a sort of metric to be trying to fulfill, or a concrete objective, even though that objective is defined quite loosely because it's about what would I do in the situation, and I don't know what the situation is necessarily. But the danger of that approach is that it can result in uninteresting outcomes. There's still that plague going around. The Mediterranean's just covered in plague for some reason. Ah! I didn't want to do that. Oh well, I guess I've got a non-aggression pact with Athens now. So I get for clicking on the wrong button. And the advantage of the narrativist approach is that it produces interesting outcomes. And I think you could say, like, I mean, so I've talked before about my writing. You know, my writing approach is often to say, like, what is the least... No, I shouldn't oversell the point, right? But what is something that we could do that would be totally unexpected? Our job as writers, particularly writers of a continuing, ongoing story, rather than just a unique, you know, short story in its own right, is to take plot points that people are expecting and deliver on them, but deliver on them in an unexpected way. And I think The Last Jedi is a pretty good example of that. That isn't me. Of well, can I give an example of mine? Yeah, I suppose so. So yeah, so like in the Third Age army stock, I brought up the Temple Knights, and I think probably you wouldn't expect the Temple Knights to be around in the Third Age. So that was the first, like, what? And then the second thing I wrote was just, oh yeah, they used to be Zerosians, and then they converted to Saradominism, and that just puts the whole organisation suddenly in a totally different context, which isn't what you're expecting. So you'd like more information on the Temple Knights. You could certainly. Oh. What? Oh, okay. It's telling me that like 3 turns too late. And I think that's... I mean, I would... although it's not how the terms are originally meant to be used, I would describe that as a narrativist approach to storytelling and world building. I think these end turns are getting shorter because I think factions are getting wiped out. So it's taking less turns now because the empires are expanding and conquering other territory. What happened in 235? They closed the Temple of Janus. In Rome, the consul Titan Titus presides over the first ever closing of the gates of the Temple of Janus, signifying peace. Does that mean that's the first time that Rome has been at peace since its establishment? Is that what that's saying? I'm not sure. That sounds plausible, because Rome was at war for, like, basically ever. I guess so we're behind now, because history is... We're supposed to have held Corsica and Sardinia by now, but we haven't. We're 3 years out of date, and we're going to be more so. Oh, and then we've got, oh god, like 7 more years to do the Illyrian War. Yeah, we're well behind. Right, these guys are not going to reinforce for a long time. I could send them back to Rome to get reinforcements, or I could just move on. Let's just move on, it's fine. Is this region going to rebel? Yes, it might do. I should probably do something about that, shouldn't I? Let's build a building that might help. What is with this plague? Weird. Yeah, they've got it as well. Let's go have a look at Corrales. Can I blockade them? Oh! I mean, yes I can, but that is a terrible idea, it turns out. Well, let's maintain the blockade and then we can run away. They'll probably wipe out our fleet now. But blockades are fun, so it's fine. Don't really know what any of these do. Archives, that sounds good. Let's get some archives. That's extreme gamism right there. That sounds cool. I'll do that one. So yeah, I think The Last Jedi is a pretty unusually strong example of, like, it's unusual to see something so extremely, again, narrativist isn't quite the right way to describe it, right? But prioritizing the shock factor of the story outcomes. Yeah, we're going to run away. prioritizing the shock factor of the story outcomes over necessarily the internal logic of the story outcomes. Oh, wow, they hate me. Is he coming all the way here? There's a tiny fleet. Uh-oh. Right. That's not ideal. Well, I kind of deserved that, didn't I? Maybe I should have fought that, actually, I'm not sure. And I think so. I think so. If you're not familiar with the Last Jedi, which I assume everyone is by this point, but what the Last Jedi does is take every plot point that was set up in the previous film and sort of do the most unexpected thing possible. Not necessarily like a logical thing, and not necessarily a super interesting thing. It's interesting because it's unexpected, not because it's necessarily interesting in and of itself. While I wouldn't hold that up as an example of like superb storytelling, it sort of illustrates the trade-off that you're making by thinking about things in pure realism. That if you think in terms of pure realism, you don't get those unexpected things that happen. Because realism can't produce them, right? Unless your simulation is... So the reason that something like Dwarf Fortress works is because Dwarf Fortress is such a complicated simulation that unexpected things happen all the time. So, you know, your dwarf treads on a cat and that triggers the apocalypse. That happens all the time in Dwarf Fortress because the simulation is so complicated and so weird and random. But if your range of possible inputs to the simulation is relatively small... I mean, like if I can think about role-playing examples of where I think about examples of role-playing from when I was younger and that I'm aware of from hearing other people's stories, is sort of, if a typical example of an annoying simulationist would be someone who says, I'm a loner, I'm a ranger, I'm a loner, I don't work with other people, I'm an elf and I'm racist and I hate dwarves. And they always respond in exactly the same way to every situation because their range of characterization is quite narrow. They only have effectively one lens with which to view the world, and it's so broad that almost all situations are covered by it, so that any NPC they meet they'll just be racist and superior towards, and any attempt to work with the rest of the party on something they'll refuse to do because they work alone, and that's a simulationist attitude, but not... It's all going wrong. It's all going wrong. It's a simulationist attitude, but it's not one that necessarily produces good outcomes.
On the move. We hunger for at once. The Carthage
2, 3, 4. Corsica, Sardinia, and Liguria rebel unsuccessfully against Rome. Quite realistic. My income is now massively positive because most of my fleet got wiped out. God damn it. Well, they can be upgraded. What? Upgrade. Bonus level 1 hulls. Why? No idea. Oh, is it maybe because there's a level 3 ship right here? Yeah, there is. Oh, is that... What? That's really weird. Why couldn't I do that before? Can I just do them all at once? Yes, there we go. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? A lot of people come to a role-playing game with that sort of mentality, and they've made a character that would make an interesting... Because a lot of novel protagonists are people who struggle with teamwork or who, have character flaws that make it that can make them interesting characters in that context, but just aren't suited for a team role-playing game, right? I guess that's quite an interesting one because that's very much a role-playing specific problem. I don't think that has very much applicability outside of a role-playing game, except in the weird situation where you're trying to sort of role-play in Skyrim with a character. Like, you can say, I'm a role-playing in Skyrim, I'm a peaceful merchant. And that's just going to be a miserable game. Like, that's more or less like a challenge mode that you're implying. You're forcing yourself to play in a weird challenge mode. You know, like Swampletics. You've imposed an absolutely bizarre restriction on yourself that the game really doesn't handle, in the interest of seeing whether or not you can do it anyway, which is a really cool thing to do. But, you know, very risky because the game might not handle it. Yes, I think that probably is the case, yes. Oh, I hope I didn't preemptively end the turn. I don't think I did. Swampletics is an old school player who only plays in Mauritania. Is it he's trying to max in Mauritania? Or is it just that he just is trying to do everything he can in Mauritania? And and the point being that absolutely no thought has ever gone into, like, we as designers we think, skillers exist. Can we accommodate skillers in our content without it harming the content? And skill pures exist. So combat pures exist, so whenever we offer defense XP now, we offer it in the form of a lamp rather than just giving it to you. But no one has ever gone, Mauritania pures exist, so let's make sure all content is available and accessible in Mauritania in a sane way. No one has ever done that, so it's an unintended challenge,
In the uses of wealth and power, and so we love gold. My people do not like luxury, but money is needed.
It's bloody Greek people phoning me up asking for money. Syracuse is getting very stable and has a very large army. And it'd be really nice to conquer that. It's sort of interesting. I find that fascinating that, like... Oh, what's happening here? The Editani are declared war. Weird. Okay, sure. I guess all my bonuses I've been putting into diplomacy haven't worked apparently at all. I find that fascinating from a strategic perspective. The fact that Rome went all over the world conquering all sorts of stuff, and yet didn't conquer Syracuse at that point in history is sort of fascinating. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I feel like it shows that, like, the logic of strategy games just isn't how history worked, I guess there was another point there about, like, in strategy games terms, Rome doesn't actually control all of Italy. Rome has a set of military alliances and vassals in Italy that provide it with troops, and they aren't. They're not even demanding money from me. They aren't. Rome is effectively like a one city challenge, and it has a bunch of military allies. So in that regard, I suppose Syracuse is just a sort of close ally of Rome, just as the Samnites are and the Etruscans are. Oh, I've got a rebellion. Oh, there's going to get more and more and more of those notifications. Right, let's go crush this uprising. I think the way it works... So this province has a 20 positive opinion, and I think the way it works is as long as this rebel army is here, a positive opinion will go up by 20 every turn. Sorry, opinion will go up by 20 every turn as rebels flee to the rebel army, but if I wipe out the rebel army, it will start falling again. But I think I probably want to just wipe out the rebel army. Can I get some public order from here? 3. That's not very much, is it? 4. There we go, that's what I want. Do you mean a story for your own character, Theo, or just a story? Okay, let's go crush these rebels. Oh. think we'll probably just auto-resolve that. Do you mean a RuneScape story or just a
You have further orders? Ready for battle.
Hi, Saren. I think they'll probably be fine. I mean, it'll be a toll that when I conquer this settlement and also plunder this, it's going to be a disaster because this. So at the moment, this is the weird way that this province system works. Means that because they're being controlled by different empires, Corsica and Sardinia have different public order ratings. But if I conquer Corrales, then they'll both be my territory and they'll become one shared province. At which point, the public order will plummet to -80 again, plus like an extra -30 for having conquered and raised it, or conquered and plundered it. Can these two take this by itself? I think they might not be able to. I think we should give it a go. Oh, there's a huge fleet off the... Is that a fleet or is that an army? I can't tell. Transport ships don't carry supplies. Okay, I guess that's an army. In which case, perhaps we should be a bit more cautious and wait till everyone's here. Sorry, I'm not sure I understand your question, Saren, but the way the province system works is all of the settlements. So I think province is the correct term. It's a bit confusing. Yeah, province, right? So the southern part of Italy here is one province consisting of, in this case, 3 settlements. Is that right? I'm getting confused. Yeah, Taras, Beneventum, and Cosentia together. Those 3 settlements form one province, and that's like, in other strategy games, that's like a city. But that city has like 3 capitals, and you don't necessarily own all 3 of them. But they operate as a single unit, which has a single budget and a single happiness rating. And it's kind of an intriguing idea. I don't think ultimately it's worked out that well. I think it's kind of a net negative on a lot of... Sorry, in Total War Warhammer it's interesting because there are places where it's quite positive, like where the Empire in Total War Warhammer is made up of 12 states. Is it 12 or is it 10? 10 or 12 states, and each of those states is like each of those states is like a small number of settlements together, and this province system captures that quite nicely. But there are other places where there is no logical relationship, and they've had to sort of just fill out the system. There'll be like a capital, and then there's just a couple of just random camps that have, made up names in order to give the settlement a title. I'm not really the right person to ask strategy tips from, Sarah, and I'm playing on easy and playing badly, so I can't answer specific strategy questions about how you should be playing because I'm playing badly on purpose almost. I don't know much about how the actual mechanics work particularly well. I understand roughly how they work, but I know nothing about how to make an optimal decision. So if you say you can choose between, I think, industry and what's the term? I can't remember. But basically money from industry or money from commerce, I think. And I have no idea which of those is more effective. But I'm playing on easy, so it doesn't matter. Right, I've got another fleet. Oh, I guess I should be building my fleet again, shouldn't I? Keep getting wiped out. Let's recruit another fleet. Oh, hang on. No, that's not right. I've done that wrong. Okay, I need to choose... First I choose the general. Now these guys tend to get wiped out, don't they? I've lost quite a lot of admirals. Let's send a plebeian. That's the safest thing to do. Yeah, there we go. Good old plebeian. Right. I wonder if maybe I've got... I don't know what the right kind of unit to use is. Why don't we use mix in some other guys? Like that. Okay. See if that helps. Might be good to actually play the game properly, mightn't it? No, probably not. Oh god, what? Oh, loads of skill points. Probably him. Oh. Right, who else has leveled up? I love this interface so much. 3% construction costs. Pretty sure there was one other person. Yeah, there we go. Why did he level up? Oh, no, what is it? This was the movement speed one. Yeah, it's that one. There we go. Okay, that's my strategy tip. Movement speed. Movement speed is good. Probably. I assume. Wonder why those guys did declare war on me. They just hate me for some reason. It's because I was making fun of the Turdatani. Come on though, Turdatani. Where are we? What is this place? Galatia. Is that the western end of Turkey? Is that what that is? I guess so. Is that Byzantium there? Is that where Byzantium is? Or where Byzantium will be? I think so, just here. I guess there's not even a settlement here right now. It's interesting. It illustrates an interesting point about, like, you know, there's a limit to how long the dates can go on. I think this game goes up until, I think, like, the sort of mid-imperial period, like the early. It definitely covers the early imperial period, and I think the campaign sort of covers up until sort of about 50 to 100 years after that, I think, reasonably well. But then after that, as it sort of bleeds into the Middle Ages, just all of the game concepts start to change. You know, the cultural concepts and the fact that different cities become relevant. You know, the city names are all kind of locked. It doesn't change them, and the position of the settlements doesn't change. So there's no way for Byzantium to appear on the map. That isn't a thing that the game can support. Right. I have no idea what I was talking about. What was I talking about? Realistic storytelling. There was I can't remember whose name it was. It was like he was like a famous like pulp detective novel author. Oh, that doesn't look good. Whoa. Run away. Run away. Oh man. Okay. This could be a problem. I didn't think there was any way he could get to us. I should have pulled them back to that other army. Didn't think he was anywhere near close enough to do that. Sorry, I'm pretty sure he was like a pulp noir detective novel writer, and he said if you've got writer's block and you don't know what to do, just have someone kick the door in. And that feels like almost like, well, that isn't the best quality narrativism. It feels like almost the ultimate expression of narrativism. You know, nothing from the parts that you've set up and have them running. Nothing interesting is happening. So you have to introduce another factor from outside to sort of force something interesting to happen. Oh god, they've got 2 units of elephants and a bunch of guys in muscle cuirasses. That army looks like serious business, doesn't it? They've got guys with giraffe pelts and people with faces on their shields. I'm sure I'll be fine. Maybe. Maybe not. Right, I should probably play this battle and then stop, I think. I do have reinforcements coming on behind the enemy army, which might be really good or might be really bad, because they might just get separately destroyed. Because if I can't join up my forces with each other, then they can get picked apart separately, which is a problem. Oh, they're coming on over here. Does it show? Yeah, they're coming on here, so if I deploy the rest of my army here, I can probably join up. Might even be able to hide in the woods until they do. There is a whole thing to do with hiding in the woods, which I am not very good at. So those guys, the eye symbol means that they're hidden. Which in theory means I can sneak my reinforcements in. I think my customary extremely bad battlefield tactics aren't gonna help me very much here. Oh, of course I don't know where the enemy are. Oh, there they are. Oh, in theory, if my reinforcements come on here, this probably won't work. But in theory, if these guys come on, and then the enemy army come towards them, then my original army can then charge them in the flank. That'd be good if that worked. Ooh. Okay, let's get these guys. Are they coming for us? Difficult to tell. It does its best to line up the control groups so that they fit neatly, like Tetris-like. But that means it puts them in the wrong order. Oh, no, no, no. Wait, what? No, stop that. Why are you suddenly in that group? Oh, they've only got one unit of cavalry for some reason. Are they lining up? This is going to be a massacre, isn't it? Probably smart to have some cavalry on either end. Oh, there are a lot of them, aren't there? Are they coming? Oh, what?
Our hidden units have been discovered.
That's fine. That's why I brought javelins. Oh man.
Our hidden units have been discovered.
I wonder if it's a good idea to charge elephants. I don't really know much about how elephants work in the game, like. It seems normal to be worried about them. Oh, they're not set to skirmish. Good. But I don't actually know how they work. I don't think cavalry charges are particularly effective in woods. This is what I was worried about. They've got both their cavalry on that flank. Oh, what's that? Is that the war dogs? Yeah. Okay, those elephants are being wiped out, but then there's some more cavalry coming in. It's not a good... I think I need to pull these guys
General is under attack.
over here. Hi Zambo. Okay, the elephants have almost got wiped out, but then there are a large number of enemy cavalry there, which is bad news for us. This guy's not moving? Come on, guys. Alright, how are we doing here? Oh! Oh, the cavalry just... wait, were they also not on skirmish? Oh, god damn it. Classic.
One of our units has used all its ammunition.
Rorarii. What is happening? Oh, they're missile cavalry. Missile cavalry are a nightmare in this game. Unless they decide to charge me for some reason. Okay, that's fine. Situation resolved. My general might die here. They're picking on my... Did you guys not lock shields? Yeah, they have got shields, but they're dying quite badly.
One of our units has used all its ammunition.
What is happening? Oh, that's the... I've got any spearmen in here somewhere? Late Hastati spearmen. So the Roman troops that I've upgraded are now mostly swordsmen, who aren't really very good at repelling cavalry charges anymore. Man, those heavy cavalry are strong. They're the one with the... They have no unit type name. Libyan cavalry. Lightly armed horsemen act as primarily as scouts. Well, they are destroying me. Let's get these guys to come in. I'm actually having to take this battle relatively seriously because I'm probably going to lose it. There's quite a lot of infantry coming for my cavalry, but hopefully I can just win this battle and then run away. Oh, that doesn't look good. Okay, if there's those... Not sure what all these units are doing. Right, cavalry get out of there. Have they broken the... Yes, they have. Excellent. Where did the... Oh. Right. I think a lot of these Carthaginian units don't have a unit title. I guess it must be a bug in the mod. Or bug in the mod. They're going to keep bothering me, I think. I'm playing on half speed because I'm slightly concerned. Oh, what's happening here? Wait, what? Oh, they never actually attacked. They threw their javelins and then they never attacked. Oh, that's annoying. What are they? Scutarii.
Our hidden units have been discovered.
Okay, what I really need to be doing is hitting everyone in the back, but... Oh, they've come back again. Do I have anything good here? Levies, Triarii. Okay, the Triarii can definitely take the Scutarii, or at least hold them up forever. Oh, where's my horsemen? Horsemen are running away from some spearmen. Wow, that is serious phalanx there. Look how tightly packed that is. I've no idea how historically realistic it is, but it's surprisingly effective in this game that your horseman can sort of lead a unit on a wild goose chase and then just arrive at the front and charge into the back of something. So these units have been effectively crowd controlled out of the battle. Oh, do you think war dogs work with charging in from the rear? Probably not. There is a button to like pull cavalry out, get them to retreat and then charge back in again, but I don't actually know what it is. Is it J? Oh, they're not in combat now. Oh, what's happening here? Oh, basically none of these units have names. Okay, that must be a... Yeah, it must be a bug. Oh. Okay, this is what war dogs are for. Probably put real time back on. It sounds better with real time on. The sound, like the sound effects stop when you change the time, which is a real shame. Oh, they're not going anywhere, are they? It's a problem with phalanxes. Uh-oh. Mercenary Libby Phoenician hoplites. Nice. That is... who's that? Oh, what? Wait, what? Where? My Velites over there charging. Okay, so most of the enemy army's gone, but there's just a handful of incredibly tough phalanxes holding out, being attacked from all sides. Oh, this looks messy. They don't really want to get charged in the rear. Have they broken? No, they've leveled up. Great. Okay, I've charged them in the rear with cavalry and that hasn't accomplished anything.
Battle is turning in our favor.
Oh, there they go. Alright, they've gone. Where are the other horsemen? Over here. The Fall of Carthaginians didn't stand a chance against the overwhelming power of playing on easy. I think those hoplites might... Oh no, they're breaking. That's the enemy general there. These Greek phalanxes look really cool. Hey, there we go. Doesn't feel entirely fair. How was that not a heroic victory? Seems pretty heroic to me. Right, I think, given that it's 11 o'clock and it's going to take a while to load, it's probably a good place to stop, and I'll save it when it loads back into the game next week. Sorry, I'll save it for next week when it loads back into the game. I'll be back next Thursday for more Rome. My plan is still to stream System Shock 2 on Monday. It didn't work out this Monday, but I'm going to try again next Monday. So, yeah, I think I better leave it there because I've got to take my daughter to the toilet and stuff. So, thank you for watching, everyone, and I'll be back next week.